So good morning everybody and welcome to the channel. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out for a few with me. My name is Rich Charpentier, I'm the channel host, and most often we're here talking about drones, building our drone businesses, autonomous flight, 360 images, modeling with drones. We cover a lot of topics here. Recently we did a very simple job for a client with nearly 100 acres where we got both aerial images and video, and we got some 360s as well. And I wanted to talk to you today about one thing that went bad on our job. So sometimes things come up, sometimes issues happen, and we've got to be as prepared as possible. So whenever we go out to a drone job site, we've always got extra batteries with us. We've always got a backup drone with us, or two backup drones with us in our case. So we've got plenty of power when we're going out to a site, and we've already assessed the site as best we could if we're using parcel maps or just referring from Google Maps, and we've got an idea of what we're getting into. But sometimes equipment fails and you don't even know it. So we flew around the property, we got some great video, we got some great stills, and we decided to do some 360s as well, which the realtors were very happy with once we showed them the 360 tour as well. But what they saw wasn't everything. So what I've got on screen here, I've got my folder for working on their particular job right now. And we were using a DJI Mavic 2 Pro. And the video went well, the standard stills went well, but something came up with our 360s, which threw me a curveball. Fortunately, we had a backup in place, and you might not even know about this backup. But if you are utilizing some of the DJI drones out there, they do have a 360-degree shooting mode, and it's very easy to turn on. And one of the features of that 360-degree shooting mode is the fact that the drone will actually compile the 360 for you. So the processing happens on board on the drone. Pretty cool. So 9 times out of 10, when you get back to the office, you're going to have these 360s ready to go. You're going to need to fix the skies a little bit, but beyond that, everything should be good. Well, in our case, we had a problem crop up, and it's not a new problem. I've seen this before. It's random, and I can't pin down what the issue is. But so number one, when we open up the DJI drone, the files from it, we had several things. Number one, we had a bunch of MP4s. As you can see, I've got some other files in here from the editing that I've done on this project. We've already finished out the video for them. But we also had some folders. We had a second folder on the drone called for panos. And so the panos that we did, the drone actually saved DNGs of the original images that made the pano. So I've got a folder right here, 100_0020. Well, if I go down to DJI 0020 and I click on this, so this was just, here is the compiled image. So this is what the drone did for us. So when we did the shoot, the drone compiled all this and made a 360 that we could now throw up on the web. Now, number one, you see we've got shadows and things in here, so we'll need to deal with those. And this is a little darker than my tastes. I'm going to close this one because this one wasn't the problem. Number 21 was my problem. So, and actually a couple of others as well. So looking at this, you're saying to yourself, well, you know, this is the standard 360 layout before it's in a viewer rich, so I get that. All right, I understand. So let's just get right into it. So number 21, I am going to drag down to Affinity Photo here to take a look at this, because this is one of the locations where we would clean things up, remove those shadows, that type of thing. Well, that was in the last image. And I'm going to tell Affinity to remind me later. So here we are now in Affinity. Number one, this needs to be brightened up a bit. But what I want to do, I'm going to go up to live projection here, and we're going to go down to the equirectangular projection. So now this is one of the features I really love about Affinity Photo. If you're new to this channel, you know that I do use Affinity Photo regularly when I'm cleaning up my 360s for presentation. It's a fantastic little program and very, very reasonable cost. Now I'm already seeing one of the issues out here, and you're probably not seeing it yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in here. And as we zoom in here, ugh, what happened here? It looks like there's some kind of jitter, like there's lines going through this, and it's not throughout the entire 360, but it's showing up in the mountains in the background. It's showing up on this little butte right here. It's showing up on the height of land heading out to the west. You can see it. But then in other areas of this, we don't have something like this. So what could you do? Well, when it's zoomed out, it looks kind of okay. So you could try to get away with it in a presentation. But we've got another option. We can deal with this. We can fix this. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one in Affinity Photo, and I'm just going to minimize Affinity Photo. So that was DJI number 21. If we scroll back up to the top, we'll see that the Mavic made a folder for me, and inside of that folder are all the DNGs that went into that pano. So while the drone compiled it for us, we also have all the originals, and we can throw them into a stitching application to see if we can do better. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So here, by the way, I just want you to see, we have 26 images, and these are not small. These are all DNGs. So 41 megs, 41, so with a little bit here and there. So when we came back and offloaded from the shoot the other day, we had a lot of stuff to process. We had gigabytes and gigabytes of video, and in the end, we had, maybe close to a gig of images for our 360s as well. So we've got this folder number 21, and we happen to utilize PT GUI in addition to other stitching applications. And I'm just going to close this window for a moment. So we've been using PT GUI for years, by the way. If you are doing 360s from different sources, like, we use a Theta Z1, we've got an Insta360, we use a 7D with a fisheye lens. We have several ways to approach 360s, and so it's not just for our drone work. So I do highly recommend PT GUI. What we're going to do is we're going to grab all of these, and let's just grab them all up here, and we're going to drag them over into PT GUI. So now PT GUI is taking a look at them, sorting through them, and we can do an align images momentarily. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and align the images now. It's going to pop up a screen for us. So here we go. We took the DNGs, and from the DNGs, we were able to compile a 360. Now, this is looking a little underexposed to me as well, so there'll be touch up afterward. And you'll also notice that, the sky up in this area, it's got nothing going on in it. And that's because we need to do some kind of sky replacement there afterwards. So the DJI drone doesn't shoot 90 degrees straight up. I think it does about 15 degrees. So we lose some of the sky. The most important part of these images is actually the property and showcasing and selling the property well. So we've got some other things going on. Doesn't it look like there's stage lighting going on back here? We've got these little areas where things are seamed together, and we're not getting everything together perfectly. PT GUI has a solution for that. So I'm going to go over to Exposure HDR. Now, we did not do brackets of images for HDR in this one. We could do brackets of images for HDR, but what I'm going to do is exposure compensation here for the images taken in an automatic exposure mode, which is what we did. We're also going to go with the tone map really quick, and I'm going to optimize that now. Let's take a look at that preview screen again. Things are brighter, and we don't have that stage lighting feel in the background like we did before. So this is looking much better to me. And the best part is these are all the original images. So hopefully, and I've already done this before doing this video for you, so I shouldn't say hopefully. So this actually did clean it up, and we do not have that ugly mess off in the distance with the strange little lines. Now, as I said earlier, so I use the DJI Mavic 2 Pro a lot. I have done a lot of 360s with the Mavic 2 Pro and with the original Mavic Pro. And sometimes I've had this come up after the drone processes this. So one experiment I should do, I wasn't aware of this while we were out in the field, was I also should have used Litchi. They have a 360 pano mode as well. And they also will stitch on board on your drone as well. And they also will save out the original files too. So the second experiment here to see what's going on, what's the inconsistency here. A good approach for me would be to go out and fly the drone using the Go 4 app in the 360 feature and using Litchi and the 360 feature, and then taking a look at the results. So that might be some testing I'm going to do in the near future, because like I said, this is not a regular event and it didn't happen to all of the images, but you know, I caught that right away when I was first looking at it in Lightroom, and I said, we got a problem here. So we have this fallback. Thank you, DJI, for not only compiling the 360, but also giving me all of my originals. Now you can turn that feature on and off. I would suggest give yourself another backup. We've got backup batteries, we've got backup drones. How about backups to our 360s as well? There you go. So, all right, so this is looking much better to me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to create a panorama. This is not a class on using PT GUI. We do have other videos up on YouTube about PT GUI. You can also check out az-drone.teachable.com. Wow, I lost track of thought there. And check out some of our courses over there as well. And we do more coverage on 360s from the drones over on that as well. So it's az-drone.teachable.com. Now we're going to reduce this down because this thing's huge. So we're going to reduce this down to 6,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels. I'm just going to do this as a JPEG, you know, because we're walking through this demo here, but most likely I would do this as a TIFF if I was doing this for the final edits. But so there we go. I'm going to create a panorama. It's going to put that panorama back into the folder that all the images came from. So I'm going to hit create a panorama. And now there we go. It's doing the stitching the panorama, cruising right along. There we go. And next thing I'm going to do is close down PT GUI. I'm done with this one, so I don't need to keep it open. And let's go look at that folder again. And there we go. We've got this new pano 0001 panorama.jpg. There we go. All right, it's a mouthful. So this, I'm just going to double click it for preview to pop it open. Hey, this is that pano. And I can already tell it's looking a little sharper to me. It's brightened up a bit. But let's drag that down into Affinity Photo here. So remember what we saw in Affinity before with all of that weird banding out in the distance. Let's go down here to our live projection. And by the way, I still need to fill the sky in, so we have to do some kind of sky fill afterward that I could do either in here, Affinity Photo, or I could do it in Photoshop as well. But so I wanted to look out to this little bluff out here again, and I want to zoom in on that. No weird, crazy banding in here. So whatever's gone wrong happened in the processing on board with the drone. So that's something to keep in mind when you're going out and doing 360s with one of your DJI drones, is you really need to check things afterward. But my biggest piece of advice is to save the original images as well, so that if you have to use your own stitching application, you can. So as we're looking around in here, even out in this direction here, there was a lot of banding going on these mountains on the Kirkland peak and below the peak. So now we don't have that. This is a little softer on the focus. You know, this came from a bunch of DNGs that we didn't process before throwing into PT GUI. So there could be some considerations that either you process your DNGs up front, or then you're going to do some additional post-processing afterward. So in our case, for the clients, once we saw that banding, we didn't give them any of those automated JPEGs that the drone did for us. Once we saw this come up once, we decided we're going to use PT GUI, and we'll take all the DNGs, and then we'll do a little additional post-processing to punch things up a little bit and sharpen things up as well. Now remember, when we're in real estate and we're doing raw land sites, people aren't always zooming way in. They want to see that whole big area. So like I said before, we could have gotten away with, on Kula, we could have disallowed zooming And then the folks who view this wouldn't notice that weird banding, but I'd rather fix the banding. So there we go. And once again, I really like the feature with the Litchi app and the Go4 app that, while they do process these for us, they also keep the original images so that if we have to use an alternate stitching platform for whatever reason, we can do it. So there you go. And, just think of it as a backup. We have backup drives, we have backup batteries, we have backup drones. This is one part of your process if you're doing aerials and aerial 360s for your clients, is that we have a backup for our 360s in case the drone has a problem processing it like it did. All right, everyone, I hope this one was useful and informative to you. Do check through the rest of our YouTube channel. We have other things on doing 360s with drones. And once again, over at az-drone.teachable.com, we do have Aerial 360 Tour class, which is actually a free class that starts giving you ideas on how you can do your own 360 tours. So be sure to check that out as well. As always, thanks for spending some time with me, and we'll see you really soon in the near future. Don't forget, for our Patreon members, this upcoming Sunday, we'll have our regular Zoom meeting at 8 o'clock Pacific time, or I'm sorry, 8 o'clock Mountain time, since the time zones have changed. And we'll actually be on the Patreon channel talking through some of this job some more with our patrons. So if you're not already a patron, you can also check that information out. We do have links down in the show notes below. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you again real soon.